Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS European Challenger. We are here jumping into our winners match here from our final group, 2018. My name is Fear Dragon. I'm joined by Zombie Grub. What's up?
It is the final European group of 2018.
Yeah.
That's
Ever since you made the William Shatner joke yesterday, I just can't stop thinking about how much fun it is to talk in that sort of.
I mean, you're kind of doing it.
I know. I'm not fully committed to it right now.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's talk about this next match that's coming up. We got Lambo versus Nerchio. This is a match rooted in history in a lot of ways, because you think about it, these two players have actually both been around in the scene for at least a decent bit of time. Nerchio a little bit longer than Lambo, but Lambo beat Nerchio the first time they ever played way back in 2015. This was like when Lambo was still kind of on the up and up in a Go for SC2 finals, and then he lost every single match versus Nerchio, 15 series in a row that he faced off against him, until WCS Austin 2018. And that is when Lambo finally beat Nerchio again for the second time. He beat him the first and the last time he faced him.
Oh, okay. That's kind of that was a lovely little tale you spun right there. That was good. I liked it.
I'm glad. This is all actually Rotterdam stuff that he just told me at Austin. Because that was
Really?
that was like the cool thing at Austin as we were watching
You're not
him.
supposed to give the credit, Fish Dragon. You're supposed to take it and like live off of it, you know? It's that one thing.
He's
Apollo's,
making
like,
3
4
barracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be starting the ZvZ down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Top of the red Zerg player, it is Lambo.
In the top right is the blue Zerg. He is Nerchio. So while you were telling that little tale, I was wondering what the finale was going to be. And I learned it was, WCS Austin, you won again. And that's great. Lambo has had good performances. I think his best was at Austin, right?
Yeah, best at Austin with a semi-final finish there.
Yeah. That's pretty good. It's actually really hard to get any farther than that, so that's very, very good. But before you were done, I was like, oh, is this one of those, like, the same thing with Clem and Rainer, where like, the Clem just like doesn't really beat them? Because I was gonna go into the whole idea of, well, today is apparently about that upset, and they still have all of that other history where Nerchio does usually win.
Exactly. This is going to be a big question of, was that a one-off thing for Lambo? Because I think he's had some okay performances since then, but I think he's still looking to sort of prove that that is the new Lambo. It's not just this kind of one-off thing that we sort of saw, moon solar eclipse, like Lambo shows himself and turns into a werewolf. It's like, no, this is a real thing.
If Austin had moved, I would have asked if it was like built on a Indian burial ground or whatever, right? Because Austin was really weird. Not only were there a ton of sweeps, but there was Mana also kind of had to prove in his group just yesterday that, that also wasn't a once-off tournament for him. So Lambo, similar boat, I suppose, but not getting quite as far as Mana and Austin.
Yeah, Mana got very far in Austin, but okay, we'll see how things pan out from here on out. Nerchio and Lambo both still very good at ZvZ, and we saw a little bit of that ZvZ from Lambo earlier today. It looked really, really strong versus Rainer, and just showing that ultra decisiveness, I think, was one of the key things that Nate and I were talking about a lot. But speaking of making some decisive decisions, we do have a very fast layer coming up, and this is going to get most likely scouted? No! Nice wall off over there from the Lings.
Not often do you bother walling off like that, I feel, though, unless you're, obviously doing something in the main base, right?
Yeah.
But what's nice is that, as I assumed it was going to go into the Roaches, like, we don't see... To risk a 2-base lair is just... Spire with the lair, sorry. It's so old school, and it sometimes can work with a wall-off like that, but you always expect the Roach One Evolutionary to come down at the front. So a simple follow-up scout, which is exactly what happens here, will reveal that. There's always the question, are they tricking you? Is it actually going to be for +1 missile? Is it going to be melee? Is it going to be a Spire much faster than usual? But with Nerchio, I guess you could assume that it's the normal Roaches. And, or sorry, with Lambo. I'm like reversing my colors here.
Whoa, is it normal though?
Oh,
Is it
wow.
though? Slimy Grum?
Yeah.
We had actually, the funny thing is though, I really wonder if there was a Ling poking in at the front right when +1 missile attack started up there for Lambo. Because
That is
I think
clever.
I think he was trying to make it look like the Evolution Chamber was researching something, cancels it, and then yeah, Ling.
That's really nice. He's doing it again. He's doing it with the roach speed, but okay. So if Nerchio's really paying attention here,
He's like, I thought I saw it researching something. Is it though?
it definitely should be though, and that is a problem because Lambo just ran out of money and gas to continue with the facade. So is Nerchio reading into that?
Okay, well, Roachhorn about to finish up here for Nerchio. He has his own +1 missile attack on the way. He has gone up to 44 drones as well. He's just making roaches, so he might have some idea about this, but there it is. Nidus one coming down, and Nerchio sees it.
Nerchio is one smart cookie, man. I think he saw the lack of upgrading the wiggly jiggly roach warren and evolution chamber and knew it was coming. So
That's a lot of roaches and those queens, though. I actually, even if Nerchio knows about it now, the roaches are still popping out here for Nerchio. It might be too late, like you said. We're seeing the queens using that transfuse to try and buy as much time as possible. High energy queen goes down for Lambo, though, as it was the only one with any transfuses left over. And it seems like Nerchio is barely getting a little bit of a concave advantage here. He's starting to push his opponent back, and I think that he may be on the verge of defending this.
But he does lose out on 10 more workers than his opponent. That is a big deficit. Obviously, Lambo does have a lair. Nerchio canceled his +1 to try and afford the defense. So overall, that was still worth it for Lambo to do. I think he finds himself in a fine position, assuming that Nerchio can't make his way across the map, and that is the assumption, because he also would have probably canceled the roach speed if he had started that. So this is a good position for Lambo. The Spire is a bit tricky though, and he does lack that third base. So actually, we'll see how that plays out, as Nerchio's already trying to recover from that drone loss.
Yeah, Lambo's also not being shy about just re-droning back up, and I want to note that he does still have 10 roaches alive, so it's not like he's immediately just going to be super vulnerable to a counterattack from Nerchio, where Nerchio doesn't need to make any more roaches and he can just potentially shut down the third base. I think that Lambo can defend the third, but it is a little bit dicey, right? He is making some maneuvers that are requiring a couple of risks.
If Nerchio knew for a fact he was following up with a Spire, I feel like, yeah, you invest in the roach speed, and then you just make army. Once you have like 40 drones, let's say, not 51. But he doesn't know that for a fact. Lambo could, be easily just, continuing to produce roaches, because he is legitimately getting +1 in roach speed as well. So Lambo is going to be able to get away with the Spire, continue having the map control, the map presence. Going to get a lot of Overlord kills, actually, as there's 4 that he could probably kill.
Yeah, I mean, including the Overseer as well. I mean, there's that Overseer, there's this Overlord, next to that beautiful WCS Challenger logo. I think there's a few more over here as well. But Overseer moves forward and is going to be able to. Ooh.
Did he finish?
Yeah, he did see the Spire.
Wow.
He did see the Spire.
I mean, the mutas are about to reveal themselves. It's like a 1 second difference. So the Overlords are going to attempt to make their way back home, and maybe only 2 will die, because the Queens might be able to save that third one, as you can see that. But Nerchio is going to be just like pinned back home at this point. He hasn't already sent his roaches across the map. They didn't have roach speed anyways, so he's just going to be pinned back. He's going to go for Burrow.
Yeah.
That's an odd response, not one we usually see.
I think the funny thing about Burrow is that you can safely move out with a bunch of, or at least a handful of roaches to do some counter damage. With Burrow, even just 4 or 5 roaches moved across the map can sometimes get a substantial amount of damage done, especially if your opponent just doesn't see it coming at all.
That's a really solid initial defense. It's always like the test is like the first 8 mutas. Do they actually do find the Sporkle at building, find a queen out of position, something like that, and they did not. So nicely done. Lambo is continuing to invest a little bit more into the mutas, up to 10. That's a very solid number. He's not getting any air upgrades. He's going into 2-1. Actually, so he's going to have the better upgrade on his roaches, but Nerchio is going to have the tech. He's going to have Burrow, Roach, Tunneling Claws, as well as Hydralisks. Maybe faster in Lurker Den.
Okay, we'll see how things shape up. The mutas are going to be able to potentially dive into the main base and also get a scout and just confirm exactly how Lambo wants to handle this. If he's going to be going straight up into those Hydras, is he keeping up on those upgrades? But Queens are doing a good job just kind of pushing them back. Remember, Lambo did invest into, I would say, a pretty decent number of mutas here.
Yeah, I think so, because he lost one, so it's like total of 11.
Yeah.
Lambo's kind of positioning with his army. I mean, at 65 workers, he's like, both of these guys are pretty comfortable on their macro. Nerchio's gonna have a later fourth, but that makes sense with the mutas harassing like they have. But this is gonna be an easier max on the roaches for Lambo than the Nerchio, who is. He's slowly climbing towards that max as well. Lambo's trying to poke forward.
Lambo's poking forward a little bit too aggressively. I think he just really doesn't have the roach numbers here. He's gonna end up losing quite a few Ravagers. He's gonna pull back with the mutas, but even if these mutas are able to pick off some of these Ravagers here for Nerchio, I don't actually know if this is a good engagement for him.
That was too bad of engagement for too long, I think.
Yeah.
If it was like, you know, 2 Ravagers die and you skedaddle when the mutas get revenge, then it's a bit different. And in fact, he's still overstaying his welcome as the roaches pounce on the Ravagers. The mutas do get the Hydras, but Lambo, does he have enough on the defense? I mean, they have an even plan. He's almost to 2-1. He's gonna have +1 Carapace.
Oh, getting so close to it. He does have quite a few roaches at the top of a high ground with a massive concave. And the Hydras have been getting picked off. So the mutas finding small little pickings. He's been able to take out 3 of them so far. Only 4 really remain in that army. Well, there's the rest of them.
Still 8 mutas is enough to bother, again, a 4th base, a drone line when the army's maneuvering around. But pretty much a settled ZvZ. We should see Lambo, I mean, he's gonna max out with Roach Ravager, and that's great. He's gonna even like further saturate his 4th base. That's also really great. He's got the upgrades done, but Nerchio is just slightly behind. Should see him choose to go for Hydras and Lurker Den as well at some point. But if he wants to try and just like have that bigger bank, the better remax, and maneuver around with the Roach Ravager, it could work. Yeah, we can't forget that Nerchio does have Thundling Claws, which Lambo should have seen. It's been done for a while.
Yeah, and he did actually end up noticing it with the Overseer as well. That's the way we have seen the slightly preemptive unburrow that wasn't quite in the mineral line. So Nerchio is going to try and get some damage done, and actually might be able to find a few more workers here if he focus fires.
Yeah, it's so silly because the burrow of roaches heals so well that Lambo's equal number of roaches doesn't look that good. This attack through to the 3rd base, he's going to be able to retreat through a choke, but I mean, it always comes like, who wants to actually go through that choke into the other army? And the answer is no one. So Nerchio just retreats. But him taking this 4th base, that might be just the continued pressure point. Might be worth breaking on the rocks too. But Nerchio's on to bigger and better things. He's got a Lurker Den and an Infestation Pit and plus Carapace. Lambo is still only just using his economy to bank, which, I mean, is sometimes a fine move, especially if he gets like a good concave.
Yeah, and he's at 210 of 200 supply, so it really is just about that Roach Ravager composition. Handful of those mutas to just add in little bits, but they're not going to be doing too much in the engagement with this number of Hydras. Like you said, it really is about the numbers for Lambo, but we've seen this so many times. We saw this a lot in the ZvZ group with NA. But once you get up to those lurkers, once you get up a large number of Hydras, it can be a really problematic situation.
Yeah, but the lurkers aren't here yet. The Hydras, I mean, they're dangerously close to losing their front roach buffer because of the, like, the surround, in theory, might have sounded good, but Lambo actually just took the fight, like, one side, then to the other, is now pouncing on top of the army that is mostly Hydras, and that will fall fairly quickly without the protection. Also, Lambo defending against Nerchio's attempted counter into the natural with just the mutas, actually. Things looking up for Lambo, who has a huge bank behind this again, and it doesn't seem to care about Nerchio's tech advantage.
Yeah, he's going to try and utilize that sort of choke point to make it harder for Lambo to push through, but Lambo still decides to push through. Is he going to be overcommitting here, though? There's a lot of Hydras, and now that Roach buffer is back in the front. A couple of the Ravagers going down. It looks like Nerchio is going to be able to keep his hopes and dreams alive in this game, but now he's built himself a little bit of space, and he can use that to get up some lurkers.
Yeah, I'm really surprised he doesn't just start immediately making that. He has a bit of bank. 170's not max, but it's okay. There we go. Some lurkers are on the way. He will have +2 Carapace potentially for the next fight. So Lambo, he had that momentum, definitely overstepped for a second, and they're both still on these really great economies, so the game will continue on for quite some time.
Holy Ravager, Batman. That is a lot of them. Lambo, I mean, that is the kind of nice thing here for Lambo, is that even with the lurkers, as long as he knows where they burrow, he can deal with them with the corrosive biles, and there we end up seeing a handful of them being thrown down. 2 of the lurkers already taken out. 1 lurker not actually getting focus fire down or taken out by the Ravager, so it's getting a lot of damage done.
I think Lambo's, this might just be too good of a fight.
Yeah.
You can see, like, Nerchio has these great ideas for fights, you know, the initial surround in the last fight, but Lambo is still, like, he's not actually getting surrounded. It's not actually killing all of his Ravagers. He simply had so many that Nerchio, once again, taking the worst fight, is not going to be able to hang on. He's got reinforcement approaches. Only Ravagers left over, but the supply is still looking too bad, even if he does clean this up.
Yeah, I mean, the supplies are looking a little bit rough right now with the reinforcements rallying across the map, but I think there's still maybe a glimmer of hope here for Nerchio, even with the supply being down. If he can get out enough high-value units, but it looks like it's just mostly roaches in production, even lings in production at this point. It's sort of a desperation maneuver.
Yeah. I mean, Nerchio is probably realizing that +2 care has finally kicked in. That's maybe part of the reason he even moved into the army fight like he did, but just didn't end up working out well enough as he is on the ropes. He's trying, but their army supply is just, it's too bad, and that's going to be it. GG.
Lambo takes the first game in this best of 3 and sets himself up into a position where he is potentially saying, you know what, this was not just a one-off thing at Austin. This is a consistent thing. I'm a better player. I'm one of the best now, potentially in Europe.
I think ZvZ is...
Yeah, at least in ZvZ, yeah.
That was really well done. I mean, there's no real tricks. I guess we don't forget that started off with a Nidus Worm, but that was one of those weird situations where this usual all-in did just enough damage to have a macro game. I don't know if it put him ahead, I don't know if it put him slightly behind, but it was like, it was average, and then his follow-up worked out so well that it did end up being kind of like this average game where maybe Lambo was a little ahead. He always had a bigger bank, but then he didn't have the tech. But obviously that was the better plan.
I think it was really cool just to also see a situation where I think it was off of the back of that one big engagement where you were talking about how Nerchio was setting up for this really nice concave, but Lambo was sort of able to anticipate that and just force an engagement into one side of the concave. I think if he doesn't have that, we have seen this so many times before where the Roach Hydra composition will just start taking better and better trades versus just a pure Roach Ravager composition, and eventually the Roach Ravager player, even with a better economy or something, starts to just get overrun. But I feel like Nerchio did a really, Nerchio setting up that concave, it ended up backfiring.
It was like also, I don't even know if it was like a master plan concave. You know, I think he was just like, oh, I have roaches over here. Like,
it was no pure marine concave.
No, it wasn't. No, that's definitely true. But then that final, well, one of the final battles too, you could, you know, Nerchio, he moved into the army, he lost, so maybe like Twitch chat's like, lol, bad. But you could see why. All the Ravagers were apparently open for taking. They're just like literally so many, he didn't even kill all of them.
Yeah, there were a lot of Ravagers in that composition for Lambo, which is also the other funny thing is that you can look at a maxed out Roach Ravager composition, but it's not just about, oh, it's a Roach Ravager composition maxed out, and that's how I know the value of the army. It's about how many Ravagers you invest into, because the supply doesn't exactly increase when you morph in those Ravagers, but the value of that army is a lot higher. It's a lot better, and at some point when you have like 20 Ravagers, you can't really dodge out of the Corrosive Biles anymore. Like, it's not really a viable option.
You're like inevitably going to take them. And they were perfect for the lurkers, too. Like, that combined with the mutas end up taking every single lurker down. Not that there's that many, which was also maybe a problem. Maybe 8 lurkers would have been a big difference.
Yeah. I guess he did continue. He was investing into like more of those of his own Ravagers and stuff.
Yeah,
so
I was surprised.
Some of the gas was being dumped there first, and then there was still more Hydras being made. So it gets a little bit hard to like I think make that judgment call.
And I'm sure Nerchio was looking at Lambo's army and like, okay, well, do I want to get lurkers? Like, he's just gonna Corrosive Bile down every single one. So that also might have been why he.
And we saw a lot of them get Corrosive Bile down almost immediately.
Yes. So. Yeah. So like, you know, that's obviously something you got to consider.
Yep. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're starting into game number 2 in our winner's bracket match. We're going to be moving down into the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Top with the red Zerg player. He is sitting up 1-0. It's Lambo. Team Clash.
In the top left, as the blue Zerg, he is Nerchio.
Okay, no early pools, no super early shenanigans at least. Both these players going to be showing each other a bit of respect and saying, yeah, you know what, let's play out the standard game. See who's the better player.
We didn't really see a lot of Baneling wars because Lambo opened up the way that he did. With the roaches that gave that
fast layer, the
false
wall
insecurity.
Yeah.
Which he could certainly do again on Acid Plan.
We didn't even see a Baneling nest from Nerchio though, right?
Correct.
I guess he saw the wall in so quickly.
Right, he didn't need to. He had invested in the speedlings though, which is something Lambo was able to skip for the entirety of the game.
Yeah. I always am a little weirded out when, like, I'm used to seeing the really far away spawning pool from the main base
I just feel
in
like
the other matchups, but not in ZvZ.
well, I think it might even be the best in ZvZ because as opposed to Protoss or Terran, you're not being dropped so much. So if something's in your main base, you let that through your natural and main. That's on you, you know?
Yeah.
And then ZvZ is where you have those hidden Baneling cocoons.
Yeah, I do get the hidden Baneling cocoons. I guess
What
that's the
if-
trade-off though, because then if there are lings just flooding into your main base, having that positioning for the queen is so
Well,
valuable.
yeah, of course.
I guess you can still have it at the mineral line, but
Yeah, I think that's what they're. And also, you might be a little bit gambling that the Nerchio isn't gonna early pull you. But what if like if this is correct, by the way, I'm gonna like jump like 50 levels in caster IQ. But like, what if this is a symbol that he's not even gonna go for the roach wall off? Because he is thinking it's going to be Ling Baneling Wars, and he needs to scout for those cocoons.
what if that's such a high level thought and strategy that even the players themselves don't know that they have that tendency?
They listen to this.
It's like a baseball pitcher that has like a tick with their, or like some random tell with
they're
their
gonna
pitch.
like do a curveball.
But even they don't know about it.
Yeah, that's probably. I'm probably smarter than these players in ZvZ. You're probably right about that.
All right, we'll crunch the numbers when Jeff is back next week, and we'll say, okay, is it true?
Absolutely not true.
Uh,
But they do go for third bases, so we should see Ling Baneling. All right.
okay, well,
Calling it.
I mean, there are a decent number of lings over here for Nerchio. This is going to be 6 soon? Yeah, just 4. Okay, yeah, he only got 4.
All right. Match your opponent.
Yeah, and that should mean that there shouldn't be a cancel on this third base. I always love, though, when you get those 6 Zerglings, and it's like, actually, I can kill this. You only have 4 lings.
It's always really silly when that happens. They like literally just made drones, and they're like, well, this is just stupid.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen here. They both are going to continue making lings. I mean, 20 seems to be that good amount to attack, defend, and continue to trade. And you like always remake to 20. Since they're both getting Baneling Nest, no one's taken that chance of skipping this phase, but there is the possibility they both just continue droning, and they're like, oh, I don't really want to do this so much.
All right. Lings for Nerchio went down in that battle just a little bit. They're going to go ahead and retreat on home. I believe a ling for Lambo did move forward and also scouted out, I think, the bare basics of kind of what he's going to be up against. Saw third base, saw the Baneling Nest, and knows, okay, we're not cutting too many corners this game.
And neither one of these players does want to try and force the other to make a mistake, a crucial mistake. More than likely, they are just going to glance off each other if they did try the whole Ling Baneling phase. But, you know, True was very successful yesterday in the NA group with that whole phase. So they both go for the evolution chambers, you know, much faster than the Roach Warren, at least start that +1 and still have enough room to maneuver in case you do suddenly have to make 20, 30 lings.
Yep. Okay, well, very much a macro-oriented game so far, and neither one of these players really doing much more than just kind of poking for scouting information more so than any actual real aggression. Roach Warren's being started up, Lair's being started up. This is just totally mirrored builds for both sides.
And some nice scouting from Lambo. Is going to see the Lair. I don't think he really realizes it was a little bit later, but it's peanuts, man. It's like seconds differences.
Yeah. Nerchio kind of realizing the exact same thing. He's gonna find the spawning pool. He's off of creep too, so the queen's gonna makes absolutely no difference.
That spawning pool is no longer useful to talk about.
I know.
That bought us a crucial, you know, first 3 minutes of a ZvZ though. That wasn't an early pool.
It was a nice meme.
We still talked about a pool. It wasn't early.
Well, Ling, I mean, they're just continuing to send in single individual links to get some scouting information, but guys, this is gonna turn into a straight up macro game, and a lot of the kind of small edges that players will have are gonna be determined by who actually has slightly better control while also continuing to get some scouting information.
Yeah, because they're also even on the workers. Like no one was a little hesitant. Like it really is quite even.
Yeah, and even the supplies are kind of dancing back and forth a little bit between the two. Getting a snipe up on this fourth base is actually the first real bit of damage we've seen this entire game.
75 minerals down the drain, Lambo.
Yeah.
Think about that. Nerchio does get his own fourth. So.
Yeah.
But Lambo, like, it is going to that point where they can both get like pretty quick fourths, like 5:30 fourths. That's nice. And Nerchio is also going for, I want to say this is one of the fastest Hydralisk dens, assuming that you don't see like a Spire or something where you absolutely need it.
A Hydralisk den where you've only made 11 lings, and I guess 8 roaches. He did make 8 roaches.
Yeah, at least.
That's something.
That's actually a decent amount to protect, whereas
Yeah.
Lambo is still cutting that.
Lambo's no, he's making a bunch of roaches himself now. But ooh, fourth base getting attacked once again. Looks like the Ravagers and Roaches are there this time to defend that fourth. Lambo learned his lesson.
They're both getting Overlord speed too, so we're just gonna see like the fun part of this game is the Ravagers maybe getting the Overlords. Oh,
man.
Lambo, no.
Well, luckily for him, he's actually walking in that direction, so he doesn't have to worry about the Ravagers for too long. There's only roaches here.
Okay, he sees. He's gonna move.
Nerchio doesn't have any. No, he has 4 Ravagers somewhere, but they're way back at home.
Yeah, and now with Overlord speed, you can just scout every little pathway that basic roaches, not burrow or tunneling claws roaches.
Ooh.
Moving through. Lings do get in the main base for some scout, or actually the force, sorry.
Yeah.
Not actually for scout, they wanted the drone.
4 Banelings loaded up into that drop Overlord. Lambo maybe looking to go for a little bit of aggression. He's morphing another drop Overlord.
Oh!
Ooh, losing some more of those. That's pretty annoying.
That is really annoying. Obviously, he's going for the drop Overlords with speed, and that's awesome too.
Oh, this does get scouted though.
Scouted, but there's a fight going on, so it might be forgotten about. Actually, Lambo is going to retreat. He's the one that's going up a ramp in the high ground.
This drop Overlord is on a long journey over. And oh my god, did he fake out?
What?
I think he faked out Nerchio. Oh no, Lambo faked out himself. Okay, there it is. No, explode, explode, explode!
He faked out himself.
Oh my god.
I don't
Next
know
level
Nerchio.
mind game zombie grub. We also have 4 more.
I mean, why would you really pay attention? Usually bailing drops are not something you concern yourself
Yeah.
with ZvZ, so you just might not have recognized they were drop Overlords. These are roaches, so they're definitely going to take out that queen and snipe more than a few drones. As Nerchio is, I mean, is this shock? Okay, since the Hydra's back, but that's actually not that great of an option. Meanwhile, the rest of his army isn't really doing a whole lot. It's just in the middle. They broke on the rocks to the right side, I guess.
Yeah. All right, Lambo is actually pushing across the map with a bunch of his roaches and some of those Ravagers on both sides, actually, the left and the right. While those roaches in the main base have finally been cleaned up, Nerchio gonna need to be on the bit of the defensive here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of worried. Like, so last game, they both almost got maxed out often enough that, you know, technically Nerchio's higher DPS army could have done better, but if Lambo maxes out faster and he's taking these trades against, you know, the smaller dividends of the army, those Hydras could actually be another bad investment for Nerchio, kind of similar to last game. But that seems to be a good enough army. Their upgrades are equal. Left side, not much is happening, so it is all about this one.
Yeah, and we end up seeing that Lambo, he loses a lot of the Ravagers there. The Hydra's adding in quite a bit of DPS, able to secure a couple of those roach kills. Still so many Overlords in the center of the map. I'm like perplexed by how many Overlords Lambo's had in the center, but it seems like they're finally starting to get picked off.
Lost 10 Overlords. and
Oh
2 drop
my god.
Overlords.
Okay, yeah, 11 Overlords.
Oh, okay, there you go.
He's getting, this is a pretty bad supply block. He only has 1 Overlord on the way. That's not even enough to actually get a larva.
Oh, he didn't realize. Well, that's a little awkward, but he does catch a good number of units. Because the rest of the Nerchio's army is on the left.
This is a little weird. Nerchio is all the way on his opponent's side of the map. This is turning into, I don't want to call it full base here because I think this is enough to do some really good damage. It will eventually get cleaned up, I think, though. As now we end up seeing Nerchio start to push on forward. He's taking the engagement, and Lambo just does not have that many units back at home.
No, he doesn't. This is too bad of a split. I don't think he realized exactly how Nerchio is going to want to play this game. He's going to target fire the Roach Warren, and with a big remax of 23 Roaches and Tumbling Claws with +2 that might finish, he might just win the war because his army is cheaper if it can live. But that's the question.
Yeah, and okay, Nerchio having some trouble trying to commit over there, and he's also going to be dealing with units flooding in from every single angle, giving Lambo the concave here at the same time. Lambo's army is not dying on the other side of the map.
He doesn't have burrow.
Oh!
What? No. Okay. Well, he actually Nerchio saw the graphical upgrade, so he starts over a series, but there's no need. That's kind of awkward.
Okay, well, he still has a decent chunk of his army left over, and Lambo's just going to try and defend his main base while he takes out his opponents, and he still needs to split up these roaches between the bases. Where are all the drones?
I think Lambo just wins this one. He ripped into Nerchio's economy and infrastructure, it seems, so much faster because I guess he danced with his army, but managed to keep just enough of it alive with the reinforcements that we're still looking at a situation where Lambo's army is a little bit greater. It's actually like, it's starting to decrease though.
The one concern I have is that Lambo actually does not have many buildings left, Zombie Grub. He's trying to run away with some of these drones. He's still got 44 workers, but he lost his other hatchery. There's got to be more drones on the map than just this. So there are more drones on the map. I don't know where they are, though.
They're with the army in the middle of the map.
Oh, boy.
They're helping out.
He doesn't have enough money. He doesn't have enough money for an extractor.
Goes back to mining. What are you doing?
Okay, well, I still think that there is enough
Actually,
HP on these
wins,
buildings.
right?
I think he's still. Well, this isn't the entire army of Lambo, right?
No, but
This
it's
is really close.
A couple drones, though, I guess.
This is really close, but I think that the Hydra DPS is not going to be enough. Once the Roach buffer is finally gone, is Nerchio going to have enough over here? He's focus firing down these Roaches, but only 5 Hydras remain. 3 or 4 Roaches, and that is going to be enough. Lings come flooding in. Oh my god. The Lings, if they were there just a few seconds earlier, I think he could have actually base traded that.
I think you're right. I mean, the drones were pulled because Lambo assumed he would win, so there's always that complication. He still had 13 workers to use.
He has 5 workers. He has 5 workers. He can start mining again. No, okay, that's it.
GG.
Lambo takes the 2-0 in a heart-pumping series finale. Holy cow.
That was fun.
That was scary. That really looked like Lambo just had that, and then Nerchio was just like, wait a second. Lambo, you can't make anything. Lambo, this is a problem.
Drones, man.
Imagine if you had gotten up the ramp first, and then had the high ground there.
Concave, yeah.
If the drones were even just half a second later, and those units get up the ramp, I think that Nerchio actually wins that.
There's a lot of things to be said, though, when a situation like that happens. Like, what if the Roach Horn wasn't sniped? Maybe there's more reinforcements for Nerchio or something like that. But the dancing that Lambo was able to do ended up being the better plan. So, I mean, he played a great game number 1. Game number 2 was definitely weird, but he still executed just a bit better, and now Nerchio will rematch against Clem.
Yeah, and of course Lambo is going to be advancing on out of the group, is going to be our 7th European player to make it over to those playoffs that are going to be happening next week. But like you said, Zombie Grub, we also have our lower bracket match set up, or I should say our decider match actually set up, our middle match, as In Control likes to call it. Clem versus Nerchio. Who's going to be the last player from Europe to advance? Find out in just a little bit.